Welcome back to another Jazz Breakdown. Baji started tonight.
I don't know
It's very confusing.
where it came from, but I'll take it.
We started Ochai a few games ago when Clarkson was out, and Markkanen benched him, 10th man rotation minutes for 3 games, started him again and played him heavy minutes.
At the position that he hasn't played all season.
Yeah, he played the 2 for a good chunk of the game. And that's the thing. I'm okay with him playing some 3, right, as rotations happen and stuff like that, with the majority of his minutes at the 2. And weirdly enough, played a pretty good game. Shot 50% from 3, moved the ball well, actually had several assists, had 4 steals.
And when we double with him, it's different.
Yeah.
When we double with him, it's different. His speed, his stop and start is so extremely fast. Yeah, like we were texting back and forth before the game. Don't know how or why, but we'll take it, right? You know, that kind of thing.
I just don't understand. Once again, it's confusing. But hey, I'm happy. I was happy to hear he started. But obviously we lost by 12? Something like that.
11, yeah.
I will take these games this year way more than a 2-point win than we had the other night, because there was legit development. Keontae had a bad game. He shot 4 for 19, shot way too much, and got into problems where, he shot under the rim, where he was hesitating and stuff like that. That's okay. He's a rookie. He's 19. He needs to learn. He needs to be in that situation to grow.
It's part of the formula. That's what has to happen. Still had a couple of moments of flair that were
100%.
fantastic. So it's in Minnesota, threw their best perimeter defender at him as far as their point guard defender. They don't have Jaden McDaniels or Anthony Edwards tonight. Both teams missing some players, but the other night, like I told you, when the Timberwolves had their battle with OKC the other night, Alexander Walker was the main defender of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're cousins, actually, kind of a weird deal, but
all right, I didn't know that.
They are, and damn Canadians, anyways. But they threw their best perimeter defender at him, and that's great for him. We want him to kind of have those moments where he has to go back and watch video of the game and learn and stub his toe, and it's got to irritate him when he's off the court and think about it, dwell on it.
And there were several times where he had a bucket at the rim. He kind of hesitated, whether it was Gobert, Alexander Walker, stuff like that. There were moments he hesitated because the speed of the NBA is different compared to, college and all that stuff. That is the only way you learn that, is being on the court and experiencing it and growing through that. We need him to have these kind of games right now, so that these kind of games are way less and less in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, as we start to really be competitive. Those are the kinds of things we're looking for. So I am very happy with the way, the majority of this game went. I obviously, you want to win every game, but the development's so much more important right now for players. Another guy, Fontecchio. Man, for a dude who last year, and I went to several games, I went to Orlando Magic, you mentioned it, where he had the worst game of anyone I've ever seen in my life. And it was just like, who the hell is this guy?
I remember your messages after that game.
And for that guy to be, and that's part of the development, right? He has kept working and pushing and just being patient. And all of a sudden, he starts to get a little bit of consistent minutes. He's been playing really well the past few games. Starts tonight with a lineup that moves the ball. That starting lineup, him and Agbaji together space really well. It is rare they are on top of each other in break or anything like that. It is rare they're standing on top of each other, and the amount of open shots they gave each other because of the spacing and Keontae's ability to move the ball, and even the other players on the court. That's it looked like good basketball.
We looked like a really good basketball
It looked like
team.
we had a really good flow to start the game, and then
that first half, the first quarter especially, Keontae's usage was high, which is what we've been asking for. Wonder why his usage was so much higher this game. That's weird. But the amount of movement of the ball, and like you said, the spacing, we played them to a standstill in the first half, right? The first quarter looked fantastic. Third quarter, they kind of got Mike Conley back on the court, and he started kicking our butt with some pick and rolls that we're a little bit soft on.
Yes.
And Karl Anthony Towns started going at John
Collins.
Collins, which something you brought up during the game.
We should have had Kessler guarding Towns. With Kessler's length, athleticism, and everything like that, he's not going to get pushed around also on top of that by Towns, which Towns just went into the paint on John Collins.
Mm-hmm.
Use his size and turn around. Let Collins guard Gobert because he can still box him out and be a strong rebounder. Doesn't need to worry about him driving to the rim.
Doesn't have the offensive skill set for sure.
And let's put our best freaking big man defender on their best big man scorer. We can't just... It's like bashing your head against a wall, just continuing to, you know what? It hasn't worked for the past 10 possessions. Go get him, John Collins. You got this.
Gave him a water break and a pep talk. Back in you go.
So you got to be willing to make adjustments. We finally did in the fourth by sending some doubles. And, we had disagreements about, sending doubles hard against the Suns. I like sending doubles against a team like this because they don't have the shooters, right? You force Towns to create and pass the ball, and that's just not his game.
Yeah, and they actually did run the similar sets to what the Suns did on us, where they would clear out the side so we couldn't double from that side, right? And then we have to double from a long ways away and figure it out. But man, it was fun seeing that group work outside of kind of the third quarter trouble.
Couldn't hit a shot. No one on the team. John Collins struggled.
Overall, a fun game to watch for me. These are the kind of games where I enjoy it. I can see the path of where we're wanting to work with players, where it goes for contracts the following years and playing time and making a run at it. I mean, you think about Ochai Agbaji, high-level 3-and-D.
Uh-huh.
Fontecchio, they're figuring out he can play defense. Very good level 3-and-D.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting over 40%. Agbaji's 38% right now in three-pointers. Taylor Hendricks down in the G League. If you haven't watched some of his highlights, get on it, people. I mean, he even has kind of the Dr. J looking fro, but he's making some plays, dude. In the way that he can shoot and in the amount of blocks and stuff he has. I mean, he obviously has a ways to go, but we're going to see that guy pop into a lineup this season. That's going to be fun. Another high-level 3-and-D. All three guys don't have to have high usage, don't have to pound the ball, don't have to me. And we can pair them up with high-level players that come in that we either pick up through draft or trades or whatever happened, free agent signings, heaven forbid, that kind of thing. It's the building blocks that a lot of the high-level teams don't have. To have three high-level 3-and-D guys like that on your roster,
right,
and fairly young and on small contracts, my goodness.
And the thing is this showed really well, right, that you do need guys who can come in and just light it up and just score the basketball. That is important. We fully agree on that, but it's about finding the right places for them. Even getting Markkanen back in this game, we have a shot at winning this game. The way we move the ball, stuff like that, the amount of open good looks that Collins got, Markkanen's getting a lot of those. Markkanen's a much better shooter, a more consistent player on the offensive end. Collins has his abilities on the offensive end, but he really struggled tonight, and Keontae really struggled tonight. We don't have another guy with the lineups that we were running to really go score. And so that's where you find pieces. We're obviously missing guys. But I would love to see that lineup run with freaking, your top six being Keontae George, Agbaji, Fontecchio, Collins, Kessler, and Markkanen now getting minutes as they rotate those around, and then you start to splash in whether it's a Clarkson, Sexton, or whoever.
Sexton came in and played really well, started the game, kind of second half got a little bit head down, right?
Yeah.
We were kind of short players, so we couldn't really limit his playing time, so I get it, right? I understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's overall, these type of games is what is enjoyable to me because I can see the foundation, I can see the direction of the team where it's going.
Yeah.
It makes sense, it's fun, I don't care if we lose, it's enjoyable.
And
I loved it.
And crazy enough, there wasn't really many negative things to talk about Tucker about because he didn't really touch the ball the entire first half. It was like, man, that dude we went like 15 possessions in a row with he touched the ball like once, and weird, the ball was moving around really nicely.
Sexton
and we were getting good looks.
He and Sexton came in together, and Sexton was taking the majority of the touches, and the ball was flying, and and it was working. And it was working.
Crazy.
And I'll be darned. His plus minus looked pretty good, but it wasn't really his shooting or anything.
Yeah, but he made a couple points in
Yeah.
the third, in the third when we needed a couple points and stuff like that. But overall, it was just kind of like it shows you though if he doesn't have a crazy high usage, he's just not effective because he's bad on defense, which is weird because last year he was a solid defender, but he's awful on defense. I mean, he got blown by by Kyle Anderson, which is hard to do. I'm pretty sure my dad couldn't get blown by Kyle Anderson. And,
When we had
old guy with knee replacements and everything.
when we had the Kyle Anderson, Kelly Olynyk matchups out there, it was
rough.
That was slow motion. Anyways, but yeah, we were talking about a couple of times they caught us on pick and rolls, and Kyle Anderson goes easily by Horton Tucker and your sevens in the middle, and they kill
end up
you.
putting him in a bad position. It's what happened to Gobert so many times when we would run these awful lineups, and Gobert was the only good defender. You run a pick and roll, it makes the big man look bad because it makes him look out of position because he's trying to compensate so much for the guard play.
You have to show, you have to somewhat stop the ball. You'll kind of try and fake, and then do that, and you're caught in the middle, and it's death.
Not one time did an alley-oop like that happen with Agbaji or Fontecchio's guys tonight.
Because there's a whole other thing we can talk about. The way that they fight through screens is how you correctly navigate screens. Now, I get a lot of the NBA now is switch everything, and when you have a center like kind of Nick Claxton and those kinds, that's something that you can do, and it's effective on some offenses. But we've talked about how easily we give up switches so that it gives the other team the matchup they want. At some point, and sometimes we've got to fight through the screens, and Fontecchio and Agbaji are the best at doing that. Sexton does a pretty good job too at smashing his face into the screener and drawing a foul. The old Mike Conley special, right? I mean, learned it from the master, but that needs to happen some more so that we do not give teams the matchup that they want. We saw that. We were talking about after the Phoenix games how they would gently bring a screener into the area, and
they literally just ask them, "Hey, you want to come guard me?"
I know. Oh, you want? Okay, you.
But yeah, another weird thing about tonight is so we start Yurt 7 again, play him like 15, 14 minutes. Don't start Kessler again and then play him as if he's starting. Like, stop screwing around with that and just start Walker Kessler. Yurt 7's a solid backup center. He's going to look a lot worse when he's playing against their starters.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how you do rotations. You would rather have Kessler guarding Gobert or Towns than Yurt 7. He's 10 times the defender than Yurt 7 is.
Right.
Yurt 7's a serviceable backup center. It's not a starting center. Let's stop screwing around with it because then we have to do weird minutes, right? We start Yurt 7 for like 5 minutes, and then we bring Kessler in, and then Yurt 7 doesn't see the court for the rest of the half because then you might have to do weird minutes to try to get Kessler back to close the half. And same thing in the second half. He comes in and plays some minutes. Kessler comes in and then subs back out after 3 or 4 minutes, and then he comes back in, and so it's just like that flip.
Olynyk ended up playing 14, 15 minutes. Kind of weird.
Weird, confusing. Samanik all of a sudden got on the court.
Yeah, I understand we're short players, but man, we're shuffling the deck.
We do weird rotations, and it's hard for a player like, and that's the thing. There was a lot of shots that Yurt 7 kind of hook shots and moments that a couple nights ago he looked super confident in.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, all of a sudden he's had a couple games where he's starting, but not really starting and barely playing. You could see that confidence all of a sudden disappear, and it is wild how you can affect a player.
Yeah, for sure. It messes with you
by just doing things like that. It's something that we saw with Kessler at the start of the year with his confidence. Part of that could have been the elbow, but part of that was things that happened over the offseason with the USA team. And so younger players, especially who haven't had consistent minutes, you do kind of have to be careful with how you handle the situation.
Yeah. Yep. It's if some coaches can kind of get into, I'm going to use a soccer term here, but the tinker mode, they've kind of called like in Leicester City won their championship. They called the coach the Tinker Man because
Yeah.
he would overly kind of try and experiment and be the mad scientist, and it has a lot of ways that it backfires, and that's one of them. It messes with you if you're not sure of what your role is, of what their confidence is in you. It takes a lot of communication, and not just communication and promises, but the coach has to deliver on the playing time that they've communicated. So,
It's how you can turn a guy like Agbaji, who we all know is about a 40% three-point shooter, how all of a sudden at the start of the year, playing the wrong position, playing weird minutes, stuff like that, all of a sudden he's shooting like 32%. And it was like, what is going on? Well, rotations and things that are being said compared to done, it's a huge thing
Yep.
for a young player trying to find their spot on the team. Now all of a sudden he's getting a little bit more consistent minutes, like a night tonight, right? He knew he was going to be starting. At that point, he knew he was probably going to play good minutes. As a starter, usually you do.
Usually.
And looked a lot more confident
Yep.
shooting the ball. And so it's something that he's a young coach. He needs, that's where the assistants, where you have experienced assistants who can come in and kind of work with you on that.
Yep, and that's why comments of maybe we'll be the team that starts 10 different starting lineups does not work. It cuts the legs out from under your players. It's rare of a player that can get spot minutes and constantly get their legs cut out from under them, still produce consistently. That's not a normal human.
Yeah. So, and that's why a lot of times you see a guy like Taylor Hendricks, who was drafted ninth, sitting in the G League, because you'd rather have him with the lineups that we have right now, where he's going to be very sporadic minutes. You'd rather just have him sit in the G League and get consistent heavy minutes. Even
Absolutely.
Tony Jones mentioned, someone's like, why aren't we playing our rookies all heavy minutes? And he kind of snapped back with, our rookies are all playing heavy minutes. It's just in different ways. That was a huge part of Agbaji's growth last year, was consistent minutes in the G League. I think it'll be very beneficial for Sensabaugh and Hendricks.
And I heard somebody on the radio talking about, our young players in here, and Keontae George doing some stuff, but Taylor Hendricks can't even make the team. And I'm like, come on, man, that's a ridiculous comment. He's a very talented player, a young guy that you don't understand the leap from 19-year-old college basketball to going up to the pros. I mean, what Keontae's doing is not normal.
That's what I was going to say. What Keontae's doing right now just doesn't happen. I mean, look
normal.
at a guy like Scoot Henderson, who was dominant in the G League and is really struggling in his rookie year. That happens a lot of times, and a lot of times people are like, oh, that dude's a bust. He's not good. He's not who we thought he was. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, he is Anthony Edwards, and he's the most dominant player on his team, and it's not a question, possibly top 10 player in the league type player.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a part of being able to have the times to learn. That's why it's important for Keontae to get these minutes. It's why it's important for Hendricks to get heavy minutes in the G League. And like Sean said, go look at his highlights. It's exciting for what our future holds with that guy.
Yeah, and you mentioned Tony Jones. I'll do it again. He mentioned today that his swing skill is if he can learn to attack off the dribble and dribble. If he can do that, and he has a couple of times where he goes to the hole nicely.
Mm-hmm.
If he can develop that part of his game, oh mama, he is going to be incredible.
At his growth, these are the moments that, next year, when he's getting more consistent, he's more ready. This is a moment of, hey, John Collins is really struggling with his shot. He just doesn't seem to have it tonight. He's going to play 20 minutes and Hendricks is going to play 30, right? It gives you that advantage as Hendricks grows. It's why Collins on the team right now is so important, because you don't have to thrust Hendricks into that role.
Right. No question. Hendricks would have had the chance to get more minutes, but I don't think he would have been as healthy for him. So,
well, I'm saying for like next season,
right. It's the right transition. It's why a lot of times in summer league you'll see players from the year before that were drafted kind of middle to late first round, but they've had a year to work on their game, and how they come in and just beat the crap out of the new young studs that are coming in, and they look just so much better. It's that year of development is golden. So
it's why even a guy like Chet Holmgren, who didn't even touch the floor last year, but the experience of an NBA team and learning and practicing and all of that within an NBA organization, how beneficial that is.
Absolutely. I also wanted to point out that Timberwolves left their starters on the floor
the whole game
to the very end.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure that lead didn't go away. I mean, we still shrunk it down. So we basically had our starters with their starters down to the very end. It was a little bit different from just scrap basketball at the end, and it wasn't anything for a point differential either for the play-in tournament.
Right.
It was just protecting their lead. So I found that very interesting.
Yeah, it was fun, super fun game to watch tonight. I had so
Loved it.
so much more fun watching. Like you said, the huge thing was this game for the first time like all season. It really felt like there was a path, a direction of where the team was going, but the game flow, we looked like a team that knew how to play freaking basketball together.
Yep.
Even to the point where we're having fun together, right? Like Sexton plays really good minutes and then he gets subbed out and he's like, F you, right? To Baji, but they're kind of laughing with each other. It looked like two friends, subbing in for each other, like, get your ass off the court.
Yep, the banter right there. You can tell that's youngsters that are having fun on the road together, and
that's important.
And that's cool, man. Tonight was my favorite game to watch for the year, just because of that. And I'm not faking it, man. This kind of brings a little bit of excitement back to it, because you can see the pathway.
Yeah, there was a clear direction, and it seems honestly like a lot of you guys in our comments are kind of feeling the same way for the most part. There's obviously some disagreements here and there, but there seems to also be a lot of kind of frustration towards what we're doing with our guards and play time with certain players and things like that. And so we get it that the community, we're not just two outliers, right? A big chunk of the community feels the same way.
A lot of the fan boards, the forums are very similar with a whole bunch of comments. It's a lot of the Jazz fans can see it, and we're known in Utah as being a basketball state and having smart basketball fans.
Yep.
So it fits, man.
So enjoyed seeing that we're not fully crazy on the comments. So
fully,
there's still a little craziness there, but. Another game Saturday. I don't know. I didn't see why Clarkson was out, so I wonder what the status there is.
Yeah, I don't know. And
Saturday's at home, right?
Saturday's at home, and just hope everything's all good with Chris Dunn.
Yeah, stepped
personally
away
from the team. Hope things are. Don't know what's going on there, but hope things are good, and he's
hope for the best.
He's able to, overcome if it's something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to guess.
And that's the thing is, it's one of those things of like, I want to know, but at the same time, it's his privacy, right? His privacy, whatever it is. Hope it's just hope things are okay.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But thanks for sticking around for this long, guys, and hope you guys enjoy this game too and get some serious direction. And we'll see what happens Saturday.
I don't know.
Who knows who could start Saturday?
I don't know, dude. We'll see.
Thanks, guys.